Good evening and salutations, my B&B fans. I feel I'm just gonna be honest. Taylor has started to irk me. Okay, particularly how she's being so dismissive to Hope's feelings about Liam spending X amount of time with Steffi. There's a fine line between supporting her and understanding that there is boundaries. And this is something that Brooke said, as far as her so-called well intentions. She didn't mean to come into town and, steal Ridge, and yet she's with Ridge, you know? Taylor's like, oh, I'm just so glad that, Liam is there for Steffi, and Steffi's going to need a lot of support, a lot of support from Liam. And, I felt like in that whole sense that I wish that Hope would have been a lot more vocal about her feelings instead of letting Taylor practically steamroll how she felt, you know? Because I think Hope said something along the lines of, we gotta, I understand that, but we also gotta sit there and be realistic. But it was like it was the Taylor show, and everyone just had to sit there and listen to her. Because at the end of the day, what it really comes down to, if Hope says something or Brooke says something as far as like, yo, listen, you do realize that, Hope is Liam's husband. Taylor's gonna have a little, you know, Taylor's gonna have a fit. Okay, she's gonna sit there and say, "Well, my poor daughter just got shot, and it's not like I'm sitting there trying to push those two together." And I felt that's how Hope was gonna sit there and take anything that Hope said. That's how Taylor was going to sit there and take it. Taylor was going to sit there and take it as in, oh, well, I'm so sorry about your feelings, but my daughter just been shot, and she needs a little bit of comfort, and they have kids together, and he's just there to sit there and support her. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but you do realize that you have a damn near whole army of people that can sit there and support Steffi. Okay, you don't need to sit there and be constantly adding my husband into the mix 24/7. I wish he would have said something like that because at the very least, she would have sat there and drawn a line in the sand. She would have drawn a line in the sand. Now, yeah, Hope would have probably looked like the bad guy to her and maybe Ridge, but at the end of the day, she would have drew a damn line. And that's one of the things that I felt like Brooke was kind of trying to reinforce to her. You know, when she was like, oh, well, maybe Taylor doesn't have the best intentions. And how even Hope kind of agreed, like, I don't want to sit there and believe that she wants Liam to be with Steffi, but, the way that she's sitting there acting is like, maybe even on a subconscious level, maybe that's what she wants. Um, Brooke, it's one of those things where it's just not the time. I blame both of them in this whole whatever the hell it is that they're doing between Ridge and Brooke. Because Ridge has not made it clear that he wants to just be with Taylor. He has not made that clear since, he decided to leave. He didn't sit there and be like, oh, well, I want this divorce to happen. Listen, we gave it a try and everything like that. We lived a good life, but your shenanigans caused the end of our marriage, and it is what it is, but I want to move on. He's never once said that. So because he's never once said that, Brooke is damn near on her knees begging this man to come back home. Like, hey, I want to sit there and be there for you and Steffi and everything like that, but I don't want you to go back to Taylor's. I want you to sit there and be with me. And now Ridge is using the excuse of, oh, well, my daughter's in the hospital and I got to sit there and be there for her and I got to put all my focus and my time and my energy and everything into being with, just to make sure that she's going to, get healed and the help that she needs. And I'm like, bro, you're an idiot. Okay, you are an idiot. And you know, a couple of my subscribers were basically snipped as saying that Ridge loves the attention. He loves the attention of what both of these women are giving him. And you know, if you was to sit there and ask the character point blank, he would say no. But his actions don't support that statement. Okay. So he's just like, oh, I need to sit there and be there for her and yada yada yada. And of course, he gets saved by the bell by somebody. Um, Now, the sociopath known as the Great Sheila Carter is standing over Steffi with her half-baked plan of, oh, if I give her an overdose, then with her history of of pain, of addiction, they'll just sit there and believe it. They'll sit there and believe that this fragile woman that doesn't even really like she can sit up on her own is going to somehow feed herself more morphine than her body is allowed to handle. On top of that, I would sit there and think that there's some sort of safety protocols towards those type of machines, but let's just sit there and say there's not. She just did this, and that was it. That was it. Because she doesn't look like she can barely sit up, let alone then do that. But of course, Sheila does what every soap opera villain does: stall. Okay? And it might not have been intentional, but it's what it is. She's like, oh, I don't want to sit there and do this, but you're making me do this. And she, just going this back and forth about, pushing a button. Then she stops and then she goes back. And of course, at this point, it's like Liam just had his spider sense go off. Okay, that's the only way I can sit there and describe it. And I think he's with Taylor or somebody, but then he leaves. He talks to Shirley. He's like, what in the hell are you doing here? Um, and she was like, "Well, I'm a nurse," and Liam's like, "Well, you're not her nurse, so again, what are you doing here?" They argue back and forth, and Liam at this point, Liam was just like, "The hell are you doing here?" And of course, Sheila lies and makes up a bunch of BS excuses that, well, wouldn't really work for anyone. Steffi wakes up, and Steffi's like, "You're here again," and I get it, Like she seems like she's somewhat sympathetic towards the fact that her son died, but she's like, "Yo, we ain't friends." And with that being said, Liam is more or less like Kid Rocks. Now, Liam starts talking to Steffi about how he's going to be there for her and this, that, and the third. And, Steffi's like, oh, well, what about Hope? And, he says something along the lines of, you still have a piece of my heart. And I'm like, that's probably not something you should sit there and say. Being married to somebody else, that somebody else should not have any pieces of your heart. The only person who should ever have a piece of your heart is your children. Okay? And Hope is listening in and hearing all of this and is probably angry and hurt and everything like that. But idiotic Taylor, she just feels that this is the way to go and the hell with her marriage. And if it doesn't work out, then, well, it's their problem. More or less. That's literally how I sit there and see Taylor at this point. Like I said, I always sit there and laugh. Every time I go on Instagram and I go to Brooke's page or Kelly's page, and I go to the actress that plays um, Taylor. People always just like, oh, I'm Team Brooke, I'm Team Taylor. I'm just like, what about Team Logic? Because I'm Team Logic. Could we get some more people that's Team Logic, not just Team whoever, and just dealing with whatever sort of BS shenanigans that is coming out of their mouth and the things that they're doing. I feel like that's about it. Yeah, I didn't even use the other page, the other side. Yep, I feel like that's about it. So with that being said, I'm gonna go. I want to thank you for watching. I just have this nagging feeling like I'm missing something. yeah, that's pretty much about it. So with that being said, I'm going to go. Thank you for watching. Be safe, and I will see you in the next video.